I want to introduce you to you, Austin Hall. He is an individual who has the ability to fire up anybody and everybody for Jesus.
At a young age, a dream was birthed within me, and I wanted to go play football at Oregon State University. Growing up, I was the runt. I was the little guy, undersized, not too fast, but I wanted to fulfill that dream. When it came to go play football beyond, I only had a couple offers, and they were small school offers. I went off to a small school in Montana and ended up playing for a powerhouse and ended up winning the national championship for our division. After receiving a national championship ring and continuing to play, it was an amazing experience, but I still wasn't fulfilled. My dream was to go play at Oregon State University. And I ended up leaving everything that I had and went all in. I arrived at Oregon State and I was number 12 on the depth chart. I was a true practice squad player, and my whole purpose was to make the team. Maybe if I make this team, I'm going to find the fulfillment and purpose and passion that I've been looking for all my life. I gave absolutely everything up. My life centered around football and trying to make a great name for myself, to find that purpose and fulfillment. And so I stayed back. I didn't come home for the summers. I worked out with the team. I did above and beyond, trying to earn favor, trying to find that fulfillment. And I then hit my next goal. I made the travel squad. I was one of 66 players to travel, and now I was getting on the field, but I was still absolutely unfulfilled. Anxiety became greater. My depression increased. And the reason why is because I was trying to become someone that God didn't intend me to be. Me trying to prove myself, I had to create a brand and I had to create an identity and I had to live up to that. So I was known as the wild man, the party guy, the guy that had an edge that really just intimidated people. On kickoff, I was the wedge buster, so I had to live up to that type of reputation. I ended up becoming such a slave to this reputation, finding myself out in the bar scene, sometimes 3 to 5 times a week, being on the plane, going to play football, hungover. I found myself at chapel trying to find forgiveness and relief for all the sin that I participated in willingly that week. For 3 years, I found myself in this pattern. I'd learned more about Jesus, learned more about who he is, that he was a good teacher, he was a prophet, that he was God. And I also found myself in this battle that, I loved the college lifestyle and I loved the party life and I loved the sin that came with it. And it came to a point where I was presented with a gospel message where I had to make a decision. Either I'm going to live for Jesus or I'm going to live for myself and be an enemy of Christ. I was either going to choose to bow my knee and surrender to Christ, to worship him as he truly is, and live according to his purposes for my life, and truly be saved and set free, or I was going to say a slave to sin and the party life and the deadness that was within me. I bowed my knee, I confessed Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I surrendered all that day, and it was the greatest decision I ever made. Those dreams that I had when I was young, to be a team captain on the football team, to have a scholarship, to play in big arenas, and to be the star, they started coming to fulfillment. I took my eyes off of those things and I started focusing on Jesus. Football now, and everything that I did, my schooling, being a brother to 3 sisters, to being a son, to being a friend, everything I was doing was now worship to Jesus. And football then just became my platform where I could glorify him. Winning 3 bowl championships, a national title, now I believe I have the influence that a lot of the youth, they look to and they say, wow, if I have that, I will be happy.
When I first met Austin, I would describe him as intense and passionate and wild. Over the next few years, he did a 180 and gave his life to Jesus. Today, Austin is still intense and passionate, but now it's about the right things. and his desires to point people to Jesus with his life and his words.
I was sitting in my apartment all alone. I was poring through the scriptures. I was praying and asking and pleading the Lord to really reveal to me the next steps. Do I continue to go on and try to play in the NFL, try to play in the Canadian leagues or overseas, or what are the next steps? And this is where I got my call. Tell your story. And so I just leave it to the Lord, and I said, okay, if you want me to go tell my story, you're going to have to teach me, you're going to have to train me, and you're going to have to give me the opportunities. Be careful what you ask for. This is where it all began for me. I started getting invitations to go speak to the youth all over. I had opportunities to go speak at churches, and I failed miserably. I did the best that I possibly could for the Lord, but this allowed me to get the training and the education that I needed to become more effective in my call. There was a specific event that changed everything for me. I was always encouraged as I was pursuing mentorship in the church to take as many events as I possibly could, no matter how far away they were, no matter how many people were there. Go be faithful. So I did. An opportunity came to go speak and give my testimony at an FCA event in McMinnville, Oregon called Jim Jam. Brad Butcher, who worked with Luis Palau's team for quite some time, I learned of his story. I heard his preaching, and I said to myself, and through prayer, Lord, teach me how to preach like that. I was continuing to study the gospel. I was continuing to read and pursue evangelism, outreach, and opportunities, going to places like Burning Man, taking teams there, downtown Portland, still working with the youth around town. And Brad came back a handful of years later. He had dinner at my place, and he says, are you going to take your call as being an evangelist serious? If so, these are the next steps. You need to enter this program. You need to get trained effectively. I could teach you how to reach the youth of America. I had the tremendous privilege to study under Dr. Tim Robnett. He created a global evangelism track that would equip me and train me to help me fulfill my call to reach the youth in America for Christ. Because Jesus has transformed our lives and transformed our family, my wife and I are all in to walk through the open doors to proclaim the good news to as many people as we possibly can, because we believe in the changing, transformational power of Jesus Christ. It's my passion to equip teachers and trainers to effectively share the gospel. Faith comes by hearing the message. So are we proclaiming this message? Are we sharing this message? I believe as an evangelist, it's my job to motivate the body to move and to reach people that don't know Christ.
And it's a real honor for me to recommend Austin Hall. Austin has an incredibly powerful testimony of how God has transformed his heart and life, and he has a real passion to share that with athletes and coaches. He also has a heart to equip others to be able to share their faith and to be able to share the gospel clearly and effectively. I heartily recommend Austin Hall. He loves FCA, he loves Jesus, and he has an incredible platform to be able to share through the platform of sports.
We asked him to come and share at chapel. He has been well received. He's a dynamic speaker. He has an incredible gifting to share the word. That time that he had with our students continues to impact our campus today.
Austin communicates the gospel in an incredibly passionate, very pointed way that's able to cut right to the heart of his audience and really does it in incredible clarity. And allows the gospel to speak for itself.
When Austin came on, he just had a tremendous impact immediately with the kids, connected with them at a different level than just football, and really became a big part of what we were putting together through FCA. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody who is as passionate and who has as much energy and commitment to the youth than Austin Hall.